Oh, thought I'll make another really fun video this time than the other stuff. So, I don't know. When going through my whole journey right now and all this stuff, I started to remember Batman a bit. Now, what I find this really funny is whenever you think of Batman, he's like, oh, he's the smartest person alive. You know, he like, oh, Batman with prep time can beat anyone. Anything. And of course, he knows like every solution there is. And of course, you learn like, he's a monk. He knows to meditate. He knows all these like master all these techniques and stuff like that. And he's like one of the smartest. He's the world's greatest detective. All this stuff, and of course, he's the probably one of the smartest people in the Detective Comics universe, DC universe. But then there's a big contradiction here, a really big one. So he's maybe the smartest person ever. But at the same time, there's one big contradiction in all this, and what I've learned in this whole healing process, and when going back to old traumas, specifically from childhood, which then makes me think of Batman, of course. And of course, in my regard, yes, I've gone to the past and healed some of those traumas. All of them, actually, yeah, pretty much all of them now. And a big acceptance that I was a child, and a lot of these burdens, responsibilities were not my fault. And I truly accept that, and I can heal from it. And so much so that I've healed so much that I can enter relationships in a healthy manner now where I didn't before. Where I always saw my mother being really miserable and unhappy, and I always felt like as a child, like it was my responsibility to make her happy, and then it's created a big problem in myself, never really feeling happy with just myself, and always seeking validation in another, specifically a woman. Like, you went into my current ex that happened, and my ex-wife. I came in with a Superman or Batman complex to save these women, and never really saving myself at all. Never really focusing on myself at all. And of course now I can look back, realize, yes, I was a child. My mother's happiness was not my responsibility, and of course forgive my mother also. She did the best she can. I accept that too. She had her own problems, and she really did the best that she could as a parent. I fully believe that. Of course, she had a lot of other burdens too that she put on me. One thing she always constantly saying that, oh, she gave up so much and it's such a sacrifice to raise me and all this stuff, which is really another fucked up thing to say. But she said a lot of this stuff that is not very good for a child to hear. Made you really think that you are the cause for all her unhappiness. Oh, she could have lived a better life if I wasn't born and had this responsibility. Oh, she started to blame me for not being a cop, not doing this, not doing that. I could have had this other life. I could have been like the best athlete in the world, all of these things. So yeah, it's only natural that after hearing all that, you really start to blame yourself a bit for your mother's unhappiness. But of course, yeah, that's not the reality. And now, we go back to Batman. supposedly the most like the smartest person in the comic book history, can defeat any foe, is mentally very talented, and so on. And of course, the funniest part of Batman is like, and why he's a great character is because he's flawed. Everyone loves flawed characters. No one likes a Mr. Perfect, goody good two shoes. That's why Batman is way more popular than Superman. What is Superman? Just the perfect human being, well, Kryptonian. You know, he's just a perfect individual. He's like basically a god in some ways. He's always compared to God. Even in the movies, he's a god. All of these things, and he needs to do a big responsibility not to overstep, in humanity and all these things. And then of course he's just so good of a person, all this stuff, and he had a great childhood, great parents, great upbringing, very loved, and then yes, he's a very nice superhero. And of course they always do these things of what if Superman became bad? What if this? What if that? Because they have to do it because he's such a boring character. I mean, when they were designing him, Superman's really boring. That's why all these movies try to do all these weird concepts or stuff to flaw his character, because a flawless character is so boring to write about. So yeah, and now we go to Batman. He's very flawed. And what's his big flaw? His biggest flaw is his trauma from his childhood, and it gets retold, this story, a million times. He watched his father and mother get murdered in an alleyway as a child, and yeah, that is horrible to experience. Really bad, and it really messed him up. I'm sure it'll mess anyone up. But you would think someone with such a high IQ, problem solver, best detective in the world would, be smart enough to, I don't know, work through this problem with his deep trauma. But maybe not even as a child, but when he's older or something. But then of course, when that happens, can he really be Batman anymore? The whole reason he became Batman is because of this deep trauma. So if he actually ever resolved this trauma, will he still be Batman? I think this is an interesting concept to explore. I do wonder if they would ever do something like that. I think that would be a very interesting spin on Batman. A Batman that actually heals his trauma when he's older, and let's see if he actually still becomes Batman or not. It's a very interesting thing. And of course, there's like different Batman, like Batman Beyond and stuff, when he literally just stops because he gets too freaking old. And there's some other Batmans where they explore, maybe he can stop being Batman and have a life with somebody, but he doesn't go anywhere because, well, he just doesn't get over that shit. But I thought it was an interesting idea to explore a Batman that actually goes through, heals his trauma, learns to really accept that he was a child and he really didn't have any control. Realize he can't blame himself, because of course he blames himself for the whole time. Supposedly when he was a kid, he was the one that wanted to go see Zorro. I think it was Zorro, the movie with his parents. He wanted to see it, and then he wanted to walk back home, and then that's what led to the, the his mother and father getting killed. So all that time he really held on to that. But, well, that's the big contradiction here. The smartest man in the world can't really piece together and heal his traumas, which are kind of obvious. Interesting. But yeah, I thought it was just a little fun idea to poke at with Batman. And maybe, I doubt they did it, but it would be an interesting dynamic to explore. A Batman that actually heals his trauma. Will he actually still be Batman? Will he find a new reason to be Batman? That's an interesting idea. Will he be as committed to being Batman if he was the new Batman? There's a lot of things in that matter. So, Batman Beyond show, they did explore this a bit. So, the new Batman is called Terry McGinnis, and big spoiler, Terry McGinnis is actually has the DNA of Bruce Wayne. Basically, the Terry McGinnis' father was injected with something that altered his DNA to have Bruce Wayne's DNA. So when he had a child, his sperm or whatever, when going into another woman, end up giving Bruce Wayne's DNA. So, yeah, and then they try to recreate the Batman, basically. Miss Wallace tried to create another Batman because she felt like the world always needs a Batman, and of course Batman's gonna die, get old, and so on, so they want to make a new Batman. And they try to recreate it and even have a scenario where they murder his parents, but they didn't go through with it. The one who was supposed to murder his parents, they got cold feet. It's like, I can't do this. So they ended up not doing that. And would it have triggered him to become Batman if that happened? Who knows? It was an interesting concept too, that they did. But of course, because of that, yeah, he was a good Batman, but not as good as Bruce was. Like, not as smart, not as like dedicated, all these things. He's Batman, but he does it in his own way. Not the best Batman, but it will do. So yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to do a little fun video on the contradiction of Batman. One of the smartest comic book characters of all time that is unable to actually help himself and recover from his trauma. But yeah, a little fun, interesting concept to explore. I think a lot of people should go through their traumas, learn from it, learn to truly accept that when you are a child, there's a lot of stuff that is simply just not your responsibility. You are a child. You can't, process things like an adult can. You don't know the full grasp of everything. There are certain things, of course, that you do as a child that you blame yourself for. Don't steal from the cookie jar. Those things, But those big things like that, and especially a lot of things relating to your parents. His parents should have known better. They didn't. It's their fault. It's the parents' fault, and then of course it's the killer's fault. But it wasn't ever Bruce's fault. But yeah, but anyway, that whole process created Batman. It is what it is, and Batman's a great, fun, amazing superhero. One of my favorites. And of course, even better, I love all the villains in Batman. They're all mostly, a lot of them barely have powers. A lot of them are just messed up people in the head that have like a little quirk that they have. Like Joker. What's his superpower? Nothing. He's just freaking insane. He's just insane, and he dresses up like a freaking clown. And then there's other just Batman villains like that. They don't really have superpowers. They more have just an illness or something, or some quirk that they have. Like Scarecrow. He's just a guy, but he just releases fear toxins. That's all he does. Or what, like Mr. Freeze? Does he have a superpower? No, but he needs to stay cold at all times, and so he has a cold gun. He uses a cold gun. That's his superpower. He uses a gun that makes things cold. That's so stupid. Just use a freaking AK-47. Why are you using a cold gun? Why are you using a fear toxin? Just use a gun. Oh, my comic books are fun. But yeah, and Batman is fun. All this is fun. But yeah, I just have to point out a big contradiction in Batman. But of course, it's all just a fictional medium, not really supposed to be taken seriously. But of course, people like to make videos like this just to have a little fun, and a little fun with Batman and his huge contradiction of the world's most smartest detective that can't solve a childhood trauma, which a lot of people should be able to get over, in their life. But not him, not the smartest person in the world and the greatest detective. Not Batman. No. You can't have that. All right, but fun, lighthearted video. Yeah, maybe I have fun with the thumbnail and shit. But yeah, well, toodaloo.